So what if the reason that money has not been consistent in your life is because you are doing too much? Now, oh my goodness, I can remember when I had the epiphany or the awareness that manifestation is actually about subtraction. It's not about addition. So what do I mean by that? The best analogy that someone ever had taught me was that when you are trying to rise to the next level, right? That's what many people think manifestation is. Then the best way to get the cork to float is by releasing the weight. So I remember hearing this going, okay, so what does that mean for my life? What if the reason that money hasn't been consistent in your life is simply because you are doing too much? Now, in the process of subtraction, I want you to take away these three, I'm holding up two, these three things. I want you to take away the idea that when you are trying to go to the next level, manifestation just requires a release. It's a release process. Most people believe, though, that it is an addition process, and it is simply not. Could you imagine that while climbing a ladder, like one step at a time, while getting to the top of whatever empire you thought you were getting to, imagine if you believed during that process or the climb that you had to wear a 200-pound backpack. It would be harder to get to the top simply because you are trying to do the addition. You are trying to add this and you are trying to add that. So takeaway number one, manifestation is a subtraction game. What we are subtracting and what we are eliminating are the beliefs, the very patterns, the very emotions, and the very small identities that keep us from just operating at this level. Key takeaway number two then would be mind always precedes matter. So if you want to keep operating like the masses do what? The masses wake up, they go out their front door, and then they just go run. It's like we're all running a sprint, especially in the Western. So the second key takeaway you need to know is that mind will always precede matter, meaning it is better for you to focus on what is going on in your mind than it is to spend all of your time, energy, attention, and willpower focused on trying to get somewhere really fast. Which actually I remember clear as day, the moment I had to shift from the idea and actually delete this thought altogether, which was, I have to delete urgency from my system. Because as long as there is urgency, sure as shit, your girl's just gonna run out the front door like everyone else, and we're like, and we're like, but wait, what are we actually running to? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, speed is not the issue. Speed without channeled focus to create a freeway is like literal chaos, because you're convinced that to get to the higher frequency, the next level, the thing, that you have to exhaust your nervous system and freak out. So no. Okay. So step one, we eliminate. Step two, we're going to choose to observe what is happening in our mind, to observe what it is that we believe before we frantically go put energy into 10 billion things and then throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping that something sticks. And I know you've all done it before, so you're welcome. So key takeaway number three, I really wanted to hit on the emotional state of what wealth feels like now. Because if you're anything like me, the word that used to rub me really wrong is consistent. So if someone would say, hey, how does wealth feel in your nervous system? I'd be like, oh, it feels so damn good. It feels like pure bliss, okay? I can tap into it like that. It's like I live in bliss. Why? Because I choose my inner state. I do not let the external circumstances dictate my state. So then you have to really be aware and mindful that when you are tapping into the identity of overflow, I want you to associate the word overflow with the word consistent, and I want them to be in marriage. Marriage. The reason I want them to be married in your brain is because I used to be a one-hit wonder, dude, especially in corporate. And then even when I left into entrepreneurship, building a beautiful, huge business. And what I realized is that having like 20K in a day or having these huge success markers were wonderful. But then what do you think happened the very next day? I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, and then I just got to go climb that ladder again because I knew what the high felt like. But then I assumed, here's the assumption, I assumed that once I hit the high that I could immediately expect and assume a drop. Do you see why my reality then became exactly what I just said? Because I had an assumption that overflow was normal. I could totally feel into overflow. I mean, don't you think hitting 11K in a day feels good? It really does. If you haven't done it, I'll teach you how. But what I want you to associate is how to pair overflow with the word consistency. Marriage. Because when you have overflow, what good is it if it doesn't stay or it doesn't last? So we have to delete the program that says it doesn't last, or it's not consistent, or it's really high and then it's really low. So with that being said, those are the 3 takeaways. Manifestation is about subtraction, not addition, baby. Every time you think you need to do more, I want to remind you that with step 2, you need to not necessarily do more. You need to release the weight of your mind before you go into this really purposeless action and go into frenzy, because you think that in order to get there, you had to do more when all you had to do is release more. So a really personal share, I'll give you an example. When I was moving into the state of millionaire, what does it feel like to embody the identity of millionaire? Immediately, I found the biggest block of all, which meant I had to let go of my insecurity. I had to let go of I'm not enough. I had to let go of these ideas about myself that didn't match the desired reality. That's what I mean by subtraction, not addition. Because before I learned that, I would embody millionaire and then think a millionaire works for 15 hours a day and then go do the step 2, which was like fast, fast, fast. And it's not about speed. And if it is about speed, because your girl loves speed, then let's do it with precision, not like chaotic shit show energy. Okay. Step 3 is to anchor into overflow and then to identify in your system what that feels like, to cultivate the state and the feeling, and while cultivating that state, to associate consistency with it. So I'm your girl Brianna. If you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel yet, please do. Share it with a friend, because passion is contagious as shit. That's why you share videos. You don't share it because somebody tells you to. You share it because you want to change lives. Because you know that the more love you share, the more love that you get back. And you don't have to be perfect in order to change someone's world. And you don't have to believe the shitty things you've been taught. And you don't have to do more to have more. And you don't have to buy into stupid systems that make no sense. So I'm done riffing. I love y'all. See you next time. All right, we're going to take a pause for just a moment. I'm going to invite you to pause what you're doing right now. I'm going to invite you to subscribe to this channel for breakthroughs, for epiphanies, and for your life to get even more rich than it already is. I'm going to invite you to subscribe and then also put in the channel where you are actually listening from. I would love to hear where you're at in the world and what you are currently busting through. Remember, we don't have to break down to break through, but when we choose romance and passion, life is really good. And because you're listening, I'm going to invite you right now to pause what you're doing and go get the book of Epiphanies. It is the book that is going to get you to a more wealthy, more rich, and more freer life, because simply being you is the solution to everything that you are asking for. So I'm going to invite you to get the book of Epiphanies. I recently just published that out into the world, and people all over the world are telling me that in one sentence, their entire consciousness was able to break open. So while you do that, I'm going to invite you to subscribe, to comment, and then make sure to get the book of Epiphanies below.